All right. What's going on, guys? Revery here, and today I'm going to be going over my first WoW YouTube video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my duel with Sonydigital for the Classic Beta Level 40 dueling tournament. It's a mouthful. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions in my stream about the duel itself, some of the decisions I've made, and etc. etc. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to do a review video and highlight some of the decisions that I made and kind of the thought process, just kind of walk you guys through it and some of the mistakes I made as well, just to kind of help educate things that I could do better and hopefully help you guys learn to play Druid at a higher level. And as a disclaimer, I'm not like the best Druid player to ever live. I've never played private servers. I've just been an avid Druid player since the OG WoW days. I've been playing Druid for every expansion up until BFA. So I've been with Druid through thick and thin. But with that being said, we're going to hop right into the video, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so before I hop into the actual review, I thought it was important to actually show you guys the talents that I used for the tournament and why I went with this. So obviously, my first matchup was against Sonii, and I didn't really want to get knocked out in the first round, so I kind of prioritized this for that more than anything else. So I went 5 in a Nature's Grasp. I actually don't really use Wrath that much. I know a lot of people like to go 1 and then 4 into Improved Wrath. I never really cast Wrath, and since I'm going against a warrior, which is a lot slower of an attack speed, I thought I would be a lot more beneficial for this, and actually ends up paying off quite a bit. And then I also go 3 in a Natural Shapeshifter, which reduces the mana cost of all shapeshifting by 30%. With how much I kite and how much I switch into form and out of form and whatnot, I knew this was going to be really important to have. And, you know, as a Druid at this level, your mana pool is basically your health pool. So trying to keep your mana high as much as possible is really important. So Feral, I don't put any points. So it's 8-0. And then for Resto, I just want to go down to Nature Swiftness. So the build that I went with was 5 into Fear. Basically being able to shift into form and have that extra energy in Cat, be able to get those extra dots out, or going into Bear and be able to pop Demoralizing Roar or maybe a Maul real quick. You know, just getting that to happen a lot faster, a lot quicker. And then I went 2 into Improved Enrage. The reason why I went with this one was just being able to have the extra rage. I think it's really nice when I go into Bear form, pop Enrage. I'll be able to, you know, get a quick Demoralizing Roar, maybe a Maul out there, and then a bash into a root or something. You know, it just happens so quick that I don't have to worry about, you know, trying to pull too much. This also really helps maybe for an initial Frenzy Regeneration. I didn't really use it for that too much in the duel, but if I needed to, it is what it is. So one thing about Enrage that I think changes in the expansions is that you actually take more damage. So, but anyway, I do think it's important to have this for me. There really wasn't anything else I could choose at this level. So I went with this. Obviously, I want to get Nature's Swiftness, so I got to put 5 into Improved Healing Touch. And then Insect Swarm, just having that extra dot out there is really nice. This is kind of the decision that I was thinking about before, and I'll kind of talk about this a little bit. But I went 3 into Reflection here. Even though I don't do a lot of heal casting, I just went for the mana regeneration. I could have gone to Nature's Focus. This was like another option I thought about doing. It could have paid off. I wasn't sure, but my logic was, you know, most of the time I'm going to be trying to kite the warrior anyway. I'd want to reduce how often I'm getting hit. So I really wasn't planning on getting hit too much while trying to cast a heal. If I'm going to be getting hit from a warrior, I want to be in bear form. So I don't think I would have benefited too much from this, and I think I would get more out of reflection. So that was kind of my thought process. 3 into Improved Rejuvenation, just for that extra healing, extra dot ticks, especially with Mortal Strike. You want to get as much healing out as possible. And then I kind of need 1 point, so I just figured putting 1 point to Tranquil Spirit reduces the mana cost. Like I said, mana efficiency is huge. And then, of course, Nature Swiftness. These last 2 points can kind of really be put in anywhere. You know, taking the roots could be nice. Moonfire if I want to get extra damage. I personally go for the more defensive standpoint in this duel, so I put it into Gift of Nature, just extra healing from all spells. So like I said, Rejuve Hots, Regrowth Hots, any heal, it just goes a long way overall, and I think this is the most, I think against like casters and stuff too, it just kind of helped benefit the whole build in itself. So this is the build that I actually went with. So yeah. All right, so let's hop into this video. So we're getting the duel set up here. So he has to get Battle Shout. Just trying to get things taken care of. Gotta drop the Battle Shout there. Now we start the duel. Now, for those of you that don't know, the dueling rules, if you have this, it's a classic and stealth, i.e. rogues or druids, we automatically get the opener. And as you guys saw, maybe in the first part of the video here, Sony actually hits me out of stealth. I probably could have went for the reset, but I didn't. Going cat form, you cannot drink and eat in cat form. There's actually not a lot of things you can do in cat form. For the record, I actually get a lot of questions about this. A lot of private server people are like, hey, you can drink in cat form. You guys cannot eat or drink in cat form in Classic WoW. You can't talk to NPCs. You can't use consumables. The only thing you can really do is just on-use items. Just kind of set the record straight there. So I switched to the cat form, wait for mana, and now I'm opening for Sonii. He hits me out of stealth here. So I'm kind of like, what the heck, man? Like, it is what it is. I'm not like tripping about it too much, but the opener that I like to personally do against warriors, if it's not an orc, as a disclaimer. Now, dueling an orc is just so monka-s. So a really popular opener is maybe starting off with like a Moonfire Insect Swarm, maybe into Root at max range, versus actually trying to open with Pounce, because it's just with the orc racial with the sun resist is just too scary. But he's not orc. He's a Tauren. So against Sonii, I was like, I personally love the Pounce into Rake into like a 2 to 3 point rip. I think it's 2-point rip. Just a lot of bleeds, a lot of damage that I can get while mitigating maybe in bear form. And it's just so good. There's just a lot of damage to have out there. So that's what I was kind of going for. But unfortunately, I don't get the bleed dot from Pounce. And I get hit out. And I actually try to go for a rip. I don't even know if I get this rip off. I don't think I get the rip off at all. So I don't get the rip off. I think what happens is he dodges it, then resists it. I'm pretty sure. If I'm not mistaken here. So he parries it and then absorbs, and then I get absorbed for my thing. But I don't actually end up getting this rip off. So I end up just popping out of form, trying to get as much damage out as possible. But at this point, what I really want to try to do, and kind of my plan was, if you were to pop AGM, was to just kite it and not really try to damage through it. As a druid, we don't have a lot of damage anyways, so that was kind of my thought process. But I didn't want to burn too many cooldowns to try and do that. So just try to get some damage output out there. I go bear form here to try to mitigate some damage, and then I think I bash him. So I bash him and he trinkets the bash. So one thing that I've noticed that I need to work on, I think just a mechanical skill, is when I start to kite, and maybe if you guys start to kite too, really work on like rotating your camera while moving forward. It's just a little bit of coordination. It's been a while since I kind of played WoW up until the beta, but one thing that I highly recommend you guys work on is just like turning your camera to kind of see. So he actually ends up trinketing this. I go off audio cues personally, but I need to personally work on just rotating my camera just to make sure I see what they're doing. That's something that if you look at like Venruki and Sea-Doo and these rank 1 players, they're really good at like noticing that when they kite. So that's what I need to work on. But anyway, he actually ends up trinketing that bash. He actually ends up throwing the nade at me right here. I watched on his VOD. He misses the nade and he charges me. So as you guys can see, I pop Nature's Grasp and root him. And he pops a Spider Belt, I think, on the Nature's... He pops a Spider Belt for the Nature's Grasp, so to kind of break roots. So he's putting out insane pressure. But at this point, at the starting of the duel, he's burned AGM, Trinket, and Spider Belt. So in my head, I'm like, okay, like he doesn't really have any more outs at all. So at this point, I try to go for the net here through the stun. And instead of stun, I go for the net. The net backfires, unfortunately. But it goes from a net into an intimidating shout. So I'm like, well, I'm basically almost 1/3 health. I really don't want to get any lower. I feel like popping a trinket here was the move. And so I use my trinket. And then he goes into Rocket Helm. Now, this Rocket Helm was actually... I don't know if this was a great move by him. I personally think the Rocket Helm is just a really good item to reset the duel or to heal up. I mean, he's already at full health, but I think maybe he was just trying to just put out just so much pressure. But in my head, I'm like, okay, so he's burned a lot of cooldowns here at this point. All I really have to do is just survive, and then I pretty much have this in the bag. So he Rocket Helms me. And I think he goes into another charge. I think it's DR'd. I'm not sure. So he charges me there. I go in for the NS Healing Touch. You basically get the full health there. Burn that cooldown. And I think I'll go Bear Form here to mitigate some damage. Yeah, so go Bear Form here. And I'm like, all right, you know, he's burned a lot of cooldowns. Let's just sit Bear Form. Kind of, you know, burn some time here. Wait for my, you know, get this Bash cooldown up. Get the Nature's Grasp cooldown up. There's about 20 seconds on each. pops retaliation, and I'm kind of just chilling. So a question that I get a lot here is, you know, why did I pop frenzy regen with basically like no rage? My thought process here is, in an ideal situation, you basically want to pull rage so you actually get enough healing from frenzy regen. Basically, if you pop it while you're starved, you're really not gonna get a lot of healing from it. Against warriors, my thing is that I don't really get a pull too much rage anyway. Just the damage output from warriors, even in bear form, is just really scary. And because I really want bear form just to try to sustain or mitigate as much damage as possible, and trying to stay in bear form as long as possible before I have to come out, mainly because I'm just trying to pass the time for cooldowns and whatnot. I just wanted to stay in bear form as long as possible, so it was more for just a sustain aspect more than anything. I actually don't really rely on frenzy regen to really like heal me up, opposed to just actually having my hots out and kiting and whatnot. So that was my thought process behind it. So I pop frenzy regen while he's popping retaliation, just because like it is what it is. So I go from a war stomp into entangling roots just to get the roots out. Like I said, I know he has no outs here, so this is really big for me. So another thing that that I've noticed too, so I pop an innervate here. I think it's a good opportunity to do so. I just, like I said, I know he used a lot of cooldowns, so I'm kind of countering his cooldowns with mine, and mine are a lot shorter, which is nice. So I go for the regrowth here without Mortal Strike into a rejuve. I get double hots up with innervate. Now I know I'm in a really good spot. Hey guys, so I just wanted to throw this. It wasn't in the original video, but I thought it would be important to add this. I got a lot of questions asking at this point why I didn't actually go for the healing touch full health heal instead of the regrowth. And the main reason why was I was just playing it super safe. Regrowth's excuse me, regrowth's cast time is 2 seconds, and with the spec healing touch it's 3 seconds. And with a warrior being where he was at, where Sonii was at, where he was rooted, even though he had no outs, it's still possible for roots to break early. He also is a really smart player, and he will, you know, save nades for when I'm starting to cast heal. And I didn't want to chance me going for a 3-second cast and him interrupting it with a nade, or roots breaking early and him charging me and me not getting any heals out at all. So with the innervate going, I knew I just had the mana to spend for regrowth, especially with the hots rolling. And overall, it was just like the safer play in my head, where if those stuff, you know, those things were to happen, I would have a better chance of getting it off because of the 1 second difference. So that was kind of the main thing there. So here's where I make my first like real mistake. Ideally, guys, if you have somebody rooted and they have no outs, you want to cast Insect Swarm over Moonfire. Mainly because the way Roots works in Classic WoW, if I'm not mistaken, is it really breaks on initial damage, not necessarily when the dots are rolling. So think about Insect Swarm, it doesn't really do initial damage. It just starts ticking as a dot, but Moonfire does initial damage plus is a dot as well. So ideally you want to get Insect Swarm up first and then Moonfire. So I made kind of the mistake here of doing that. That was kind of like my first like big mistake that I made. So it breaks the roots, he charges me. I know I have all my stuff going, so I just want to go in bear form, kind of refresh some of the dots here, and then just go bear form and tank as much as possible. So he's taking damage while I'm kind of healing here, sitting bear form. I pop my enrage, you know, get some damage, get the demoralizing roar, refresh that up there. So I'm sitting pretty good right here. I'm pretty confident of where I'm at right now, and I go for the bash here, I think. Yeah, so go for a bash into Entangling Roots, get some more space here. He actually hits me really hard right here. Almost a 400 crit. I kind of got scared here. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, if he breaks out of this root somehow, like, I'm pretty much dead. I'm in execute range. But what I do is I wait for MS to fall off. Basically, what I did was I want to get the regrowth off because I know he's trying to nade me to kind of interrupt my heals. So, and just having those hots going is just such a big deal. So that's why I kind of went for the regrowth cast into the rejuvenation. Actually, I have rejuvenation up. So that was kind of my process here. He's still sitting in roots. I go for the nade here just because I'm not really worried about using a nade. Like I said, I can't use nades in form, and I figured this is a good opportunity to use it. So I use a nade here, and so I like to use the nade to the Moonfire combo. Just a little bit of more damage output, and he's stunned anyway, so I'm not really worried about it. Refresh my Insect Swarm dot, and then he charges me. I'm like, okay, I can just go bear form and just tank it. He's already melting for my dots, and I should have this win. So I think I secure the win right here. Yep. Yeah. So in my head right now, I'm like, okay, like Sonii just burned a lot of big cooldowns. I'm chilling. Like, this was the duel with how much he burned. Like, I was pretty confident in basically winning the next duel just because I knew he didn't really have much more. So, yeah. So let me fast forward here. Okay. So we start the duel off here. I'm kind of like nervous because he pulled me out the first duel, and in my head I'm kind of like, well, I don't know if he's gonna do the same thing. Nobody really said anything. I think on Tips' stream they noticed that I didn't get the opener, but I still just played through it. But in my head in this one, I'm like, okay, like I kind of want to play more extra safe, just try to actually get behind him just in case he tries to pull me out again. So, but I don't want to stall. Obviously, I'm not trying to stall. So I try to get behind him here. You know, Sonny's just kind of moving back and forth. Going for the pounce opener again. So I get the pounce in the rake, and then I don't know if I get the rift. So I pop the mechanical. So I pop the mechanical dragling for just from extra DPS. I just want to put out as much pressure as possible, and you know, it's off global. So I pop that, and I try to go into the rip again, but I think it gets. I don't know if he dodges it or parries it. I'm not sure, but I didn't want to sit too long in cat form while taking that much damage. So let's see, dodge. Parry. So he ends up dodging and parrying my rip, which is really unfortunate because that's a lot. Even a 2-point rip is just good extra damage that I could get on him while I'm just mitigating in bear, but it's all good. So get up Moonfire dot. I go into War Stomp. I don't know why I War Stomped here. I think that might have been more of a panic move just because I was looking at my health and I just saw how much damage he was his output right now, and I was like, wow, this is like he's wrecking me right now. But got the insect swarm dot off just to get him to start melting. Got my rejuve up, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit this. So this is kind of where it gets a little bit Monka-esque for me. This was a huge gamble. So I was already up a duel. I think if it was 0-1 for me, I would have played this differently. But because I was up and I knew he didn't have a lot of cooldowns, I went for the huge gamble here. So the gamble is I'm gonna sit in bear form as long as I possibly can until this Mortal Strike comes off, and then I will NS. That was the gamble. Now, the gamble was that I would have to survive long enough for me to not die. So, obviously, from my perspective, as you guys can see, I'm improved hamstrung right here. I'm sitting. Now, I think what Sonii was trying to do here is he was kind of walking back and forth right here. He was basically waiting for me to come out of form. And that was a really dangerous play for me to kind of do. But I think, you know, as a druid, it's kind of reaction. Like if we're rooted, we shift out, you know what I mean? And try to kite. But I knew in my head that if I were to come out of form, being as low as I am, I'm basically 1 hit, or if not 2 hit. Like, I would have died. So I actually sat in bear form until the improved hamstring wore off. Well, not necessarily the improved hamstring, but the Mortal Strike wore off. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's 4 seconds left right here. 4 seconds left on Mortal Strike. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to gamble. I'm just going to sit in bear form, and I'm going to just hopefully live until this Mortal Strike wears off. So sit in bear form. He charges me. This gets really scary. He hits me, throws me into a nade for another stun. I don't have trinket, and look how low I get, dude. Now I don't know if this is like luck or if I just got really lucky or what, but my first reaction was to instantly bash him. So I go for a bash here and I get it off, and I think he probably had enough rage to execute. I don't know if I think warriors have executed this level. I'm not sure, but I think this is where like the turning point happened. So I bash him, MS is off into a big NS healing touch. Go for Nature's Grass because I thought he was gonna try to hit me. He puts me into a full fear. This is really good. I think I even said this. I'm like, yo, this is really good for him. So it puts me in full fear and he bandages up, which is huge. So I'm kind of like, okay, like not really much I could do here. Resist my Moonfire. He gets hit by my NS. I get my more hots up, regrowth into this. So this part kind of made me laugh. So when you actually watch on like Tipsout stream or anybody else that was like watching this, excuse me, it just looks, I'm just like running up to him. And like if I was like a spectator, I'd be like, what the heck is this druid doing, dude? I'm just like, I'm running at him in like humanoid form, right? Which is just stupid. But from my screen, from my perspective, I'm actually, if you guys look down here at the bottom right, God, I wish I could do stuff. If you look down here at the bottom right, I'm actually trying to use the high damage explosive. I forgot it was like high explosive or high damage explosive or something. So this does significantly more damage than the iron grenades. I didn't have any materials to make the big one, but where druids really lack at level 40 is we really lack damage. And this does a lot of damage for something that costs me no mana. Just to put extra pressure out. It also does stun, but you have to stand still while casting it. So I actually run at Sonii with this grenade, trying to hit him with it, but my roots break. And so I'm like, crap. But that's why like it just looks stupid me running at him. But I was really trying to get this off because the range on it's so terrible compared to the iron grenade, as you guys can see right here. So I run up, the roots actually break right there. And I kind of like panic, Moonfire, just get more dots out, and then I go bear form. So I'm sitting pretty good right now. I'm pretty confident of where we're at. I'm high in health. I'm really low in mana. But with my dots rolling on Sonii, me being in bear form, I know that there's a lot more pressure on him than there is on me, and the fact that I'm up one game. So I know he would have to play a little bit more safe because there's a lot more risk for him than there is for me, right? So if you guys notice, so one thing you guys I want to show you guys here is if you guys notice me fighting him right here. So I go bear form. I really want to point this out to you guys. So look at the dots that are on me. I have the bleed, and then I also have MS on me, right? And right now I'm just sitting damage. So in my head at this very moment, I'm like, okay, I still have my invisibility trinket. I want to play this duel as safe as I possibly can, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for this bleed to fall off, and as soon as it falls off, I'm gonna go invisible and then try to get some mana while I can, right? So that was kind of like my situation there. So if you guys notice, watch the bleed. So 8 seconds, 7 seconds, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. As soon as the bleed falls off, I click the invis. Go invis right here. As soon as the bleed falls off, I have no way to get out. Now, for those of you who don't know, invisibility and stealth are different. I think, so I know for a fact that my demoralizing shout pulls stealthies out of stealth. I think the same thing goes for warriors, but because it's an invisibility, it breaks on damage, aka dots, or on if I cast a spell. Now keep in mind, canceling a form is not a spell, it's off global. So I get out of bear form here in stealth, and I could have went for the rank 7 healing touch, but here's kind of what my thought process behind this was. If you look at my mana, I guess I'm not like super, I don't know exactly how much mana it's going to take for me, like during this very moment, to cast a rank 7 healing touch into going into Baron. I was scared that I just wouldn't have enough mana. I'd have enough mana to get the healing off, but I don't know if I'd have enough mana to go into bear form, which if I'm just sitting in humanoid form, like that's just too scary. It's too much of a risk in my opinion. So I went for the entangling roots play instead and got some space. Meta form here. I went to cheetah form for no reason. I think just to get extra space here. So this is where I kind of go for the gamble for the big high explosive bomb play right now. So watch how much damage this does. I was trying to put a lot of pressure on him. I think this is kind of where it gets more mind games more than anything. So I go for the explosive bomb into the Moonfire, get him really low, get my dots up. I don't have enough mana to go into bear form, but then Sonii uses his second helm and puts me in a fat stun. I think if he didn't do this, I gambled because I know I did have enough mana to go into bear form, but with a couple of attacks from my dagger, with my dots rolling, like you'll see how low his health gets, it would have been a win in my opinion. I would have probably got 2 to 3, stabs off with my dagger, and it would have been over. But because of the stun, he actually ends up healing up here, as you guys can see. But look how low he gets. Like, I definitely probably could have killed him if I could have gotten a couple of melee attacks off. But heals up a little bit, and I'm like, okay. So at this point, dude, as you guys can see, I'm and in that stun, I think I even said something like, I don't have enough mana to go bear form. But I finally get enough mana, and I'm like, I don't have enough mana, so I cannot afford to switch out of form. Even if how low he is, it's too much of a risk for me to fight him out of form with no mana. Like, I'm basically dead. So I go into bear form, and I'm like, I have to sit bear form. So Sonii actually improved hamstrings. Well, it hamstrings me. I can't get to him. But a lot of people were like, well, why didn't you switch out of form Moonfire him? As you guys can tell, I have zero, like basically zero mana. Maybe enough for like a rank 1 Moonfire, which would do 0 damage. So it's not worth it for me to come out of form here. It's too much of a risk to fight, especially if he gets a couple of ticks of his bandage off like he does here. It just wasn't worth it for me to do so. So that's why I'm kind of chasing him in form, if you will, because it just was too much of a risk and I would have died. So I actually ended up bashing right here, which looking back was probably a really stupid play from my point, like my perspective. Like there really was no reason for me to bash him, because if I just I could have stopped his bandage by just hitting him. But it actually ended up paying off because he trinketed that bash. I think just the like I said, the mind games, the pressure. I didn't know if he probably didn't want to get mauled for a lot of damage and die. So he trinkets it, which actually really works in my favor here because of how long this duel ends up happening. So trinkets that. He hamstrings me again, and then he starts pulling away. Like I said, I don't want to come out of form. I could have broken the roots. I think I actually ended up breaking out because he starts to get pretty far, but I still want to keep pressure. I think he was waiting for a charge here, and that's why he switched forms, switching his stance right there to charge me. But I end up moonfiring him and running out of range, and I'm like, okay, at this point I'm like, I don't know. At this point I was kind of like, okay, I don't know if I should pull back and reset or go in. I think a lot of people were also kind of like, okay, what's this druid gonna do? For me, I was just like, I don't know. So I went to put some pressure on with a rank 1 Moonfire to stop him from eating. There really was no point for me doing that. but he ends up pulling back anyway. So that's kind of why in my head I'm like, okay, I don't know if I should reset, but I was thinking, well, he has no cooldowns. He doesn't have any of his big trinkets or items. So straight up, without the warrior having that, I should win as a druid. And if you guys can take a look at the bottom here, look at my nature's swiftness cooldown. I have 1:11 left, and then my nature's grasp has about 48 seconds, and my bash has 32 seconds, and my innervate has about a minute left. So I know just the way druids play, duels don't end very quickly against druids. It's just a long-lasting duel. So I know if I actually end up playing this out for the kind of the long haul for the reset, I know I win because I have all my big cooldowns back up. So we end up resetting, full reset right here. Full reset. Am I drinking my water? So I'm trying to figure out what trinkets to use. I don't know if I'd change what trinkets I'd use. I think I'm okay with this. I probably should use Mark of the Chosen. It's just tough because Warrior's attack's so slow. It's hard to say. So I end up going with the Mithril trinket that like makes you immune to fear, but it also boosts your armor by 50, and then the Gnomish Shrink Ray, which would reduce his attack power by 250. So we get full reset right here. It's really interesting. I definitely did not expect a full reset at all. But yeah, in my head it made sense. So I get stealth again. Now keep in mind, obviously we get opener and stealth, but since it's mid-duel re-stealthing, he can pull me out, which I think he does. But I'm trying to get behind him here. I have dash going. Pro tip, if you guys actually dash while in stealth, trying to get open on somebody, it's less likely for them to detect you. It's just easier. But my dash runs out. He keeps kiting. At this point, I don't want people to think that I'm stalling. I'm literally just trying to run at him because I didn't like want to stall. I don't want to like do that for cooldowns and stuff. It's kind of a scumbag thing to do, so I just want to go at him. So he pulls out a stealth. I get a rake up and I get my rip. Now he pops a second trinket, and I think in my head I'm like, wait, you use AGM again? Like, actually, I don't know if there's a trinket right here. I don't think it's a trinket. Yeah. So he pops like a trinket or a shield or something. And I think I ended up being the Defiler Talisman, which is also banned in the trinket. Which that trinket is banned, but AGM is not. But I thought AGM was back off cooldown, and I'm like, I don't really know what to do here. I'm just going to play through it. But kind of like my mentality was, if he pops a shield like that, I'm just going to try to like just go for straight survival mode. So I pop out, try to use my trinkets here. I didn't need to pop out, but I did. I just pop out to get my Rejuve. But I ended up popping both my trinkets between, pop both my trinkets, and they actually end up the Shrink Ray backfires. Unfortunate. Both trinkets backfired on me between the net and this one. And I'm just going straight survival mode right here. So I get my dots up, and I just get my Nature's Grasp. I know he has no outs, so I just let him sit the root. Gets proof hamstring. I just pop out here. Excuse me. So I go for the regrowth play here again. He goes for the nade, try to stop my heal. I get it off. Dude, that range on that nade though, I was like, what the heck? So I'm chilling though. I still have a lot of resources. I was like, you know what? I'm still so ahead in this. I have all of my cooldowns back up. I have Innervate. I have Nature's Swiftness. I have my War Stomp and Bash. Like, I'm chilling right now. So I was like, I might as well just go for the long haul, play it safe as possible. So I end up going for some mana here. I think I try to get a couple ticks of drink off here while he's sitting there in the roots. He goes for the heal, but like I said, Druid against Warrior straight up, I win. So I see him charging me. I try to quickly get the tick plus the cat form and a stealth. I don't get it, which probably a mistake on my part. But I try to get the stealth off. I couldn't do it. So he gets a charge on me, and I end up throwing a rake on him. I think I missed first one. Get some dots out. Throw out my Innervate because I'm just trying to play super safe here. My mana's about half. So get the Innervate out. Go Bear Form. Mitigate as much damage as possible here. So as you guys can tell right here, he's ahead in the health game. But I'm not worried right at this moment because I still have NS, my Bash. I still have a lot of cooldowns that I can use to get here. So if I need to, like, you know, wait for Mortal Strike to fall off, NS heal, or maybe go a War Stomp into Roots, like I have a lot of outs here. So I wasn't really too worried, even though he looks like way further ahead than I am. So I think I go for a Bash here. Oh, I just go for the straight NS heal there. So I think I waited for Mortal Strike to fall off. Yeah, so 2 seconds. I'm watching. Wait for Mortal Strike to fall off. So it falls off. I go straight for the NS heal. Don't even need to go for the Bash. Charges me into Mortal Strike. And go for the root play. For the kite, like I said, I know he has no outs. And this is where I go for the entangling roots play. But because we can root the high explosive bomb, like I said, I have to stand still. But it's not a big deal as a druid because he's going to sit in the root anyway. Just for extra damage output, I go for the high explosive bomb into the double dots play here. Get a rejuve up. and sit in bear. So like I'm chilling, but he intimidating shouts me, fears me for a little bit. I select trinket because I know he's gonna try to get a combat to eat or whatever. So I will go back to go for him, and he gets a bandage off. I decided to pull back, but he ends up pulling back with a trinket, so this actually ends up working in my favor again. Because I was like, I'm not gonna be able to find him anyway, so I'm just gonna go for a full reset. It's not a big deal. Like, he has nothing, I don't have anything, but he's at half health, and I'm sitting pretty good. So I see him, pull him out with dots, get it on there, go for the Nature's Grasp again, get more dots on him, get a little hot on me. I have no MS on me right now, so I'm just regenerating all this health. Back into bear form, mitigating some damage, and I'm just so far ahead at this point. I don't think there's really much Sonii can do. I try to go for a quick finish between the Moonfire. He resists my first one, and then I just hit him with all my dots right here. So yeah, kind of it was a crazy duel. There's definitely a lot of things that I could have done better to make that duel a lot easier, but I think I really, in my opinion, I played that as well as I could given the situation. I didn't have AGM. Obviously, Warriors had access to both helmets for extra gap closers, plus the spider belt, which makes them immune to roots and whatnot. So, you know, given the situation, I think I played that pretty well, coming out on top of 2-0, knocking him down in losers bracket. But yeah, man, Druid is just it's just really tough at 40. You know, we don't have a lot of the moves that really make Druids. Like I said, if I had Feral Charge or something, could have been a totally different game in my opinion. An extra root is just nice, and you're already in bear form, so we have to worry about, you know, popping out and rooting. So in general, it was a great duel. I respect Sonii a lot. He's a phenomenal player. Warriors at this level are just, there's not much they can do, even with the items they're given. And it was pretty clear to see. So, you know, I do respect Sonii. He's a phenomenal player, and just a overall, just a really cool person. So, you know, I respect him a lot. But yeah, guys, I hope that kind of clears some things up with like my Druid gameplay. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment down below in the comment section. I'm actually really curious to know your guys' thoughts. But that was kind of like my thought process behind it. Obviously, there was a lot of mistakes that I made, but in general, I mean, at the end of the day, I ended up moving forward. I think so. I guess to kind of explain the rest of the duel, how it went for me. The next duel I had was against Serendipities. He was a Shadow Priest. Really respectable player. I think he's a big private server player. I'm not too sure about him, but a lot of the people like really respect him, and so he was pretty known. But he played a Troll Shadow Priest, and I just got absolutely slaughtered. There's just not much I don't think I personally could have done against Shadow Priest. They're just insanely strong, and I think it was just, I asked the other druids. I was talking to Chance and Eben about you know, what could I have done better, and it was just kind of like there really wasn't much you could do. Shadow Priests are just tough. I always try to avoid Shadow Priests and Warlocks. They're just really strong classes. So unfortunately I lost, so I got knocked down in losers bracket by Serendipities, and then I actually ended up going against Eben, a Druid versus Druid battle in the losers bracket, and he ended up beating me. I think we both kind of knew that I was going to lose no matter what. He was Feral, and I was my Resto hybrid balance spec, and basically throughout, even in Classic, throughout the X-Resto expansions, Feral Druids always just beat balance and Resto Druids. That's just how it is. Just the damage output's is just too good. We also they had us roll for the opener, but to be honest, like, I think we also both knew that it wouldn't really mattered, because he would have got, I think I'd assume he had improved stealth, and so he would have gotten the opener anyway, and I would have been in cat, so that probably wouldn't have been any better. So I knew it was going to be a loss, but it is what it is. He's a great player. I respect Eben a lot. He actually makes a lot of great YouTube content, so if you guys want to look at some more Druid classic stuff, really good guy, really knowledgeable about the class. I respect him, and I will post his YouTube video, his YouTube channel down in the description below, so make sure to check him out. But yeah, guys, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be posting more classic Druid content on YouTube here in the near future, so keep an eye out. If you guys want to, what do they say here, like and subscribe, feel free, man. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video.